Commander Verusha stood in front of the assignment board. Her silver-blue scales turned dark with anger. Around her, other cavalry officers were laughing. They were not laughing with her. They were laughing at her. She read the words again. Partner assignment, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, human, Earth Federation. A human. They had given her a human. Viewership was one of the best officers in the Kalori diplomatic corps. She had completed 50 successful missions. She had earned medals and honors. Her family was one of the oldest in Kalora history. And now, someone in high command had paired her with a member of the youngest species in the galaxy. Humans had only discovered space. Traveled 200 years ago, the Kalori had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. To them, humans were like children, loud, emotional, fragile children who broke icily and died quickly. This assignment was not an honor. It was a punishment. It was someone's cruel joke. Congratulations, Commander, said Officer Tethran as he walked past. His voice was full of mock respect. I am sure you and your human pet will do great things together. More laughter followed. Viewership said nothing. She kept her face like stone, but inside she was burning with shame. 3 days later, she stood at Docking Bay 9 on Neutral Station Theta 7. This was a joint species outpost, a place where different civilizations met to do business. It was old, crowded, and smelled of recycled air. The transport ship opened its doors. Viewership watched as passengers walked out, tall Moravian traders, short Dexali engineers, a group of Vethkai observers who kept their faces hidden under dark hoods. And then she saw him. Lieutenant Marcus Chen was not what she expected. He was average height for a human. He had black hair, cut short, and dark brown eyes. He carried a simple bag over one shoulder. He wore his uniform correctly, but without the stiff formality of a Kalori. Officer, he looked around the docking bay with curiosity. When he saw Viewership, he smiled and walked toward her. Commander Viewership, he asked. His pronunciation of her name was not perfect, but it was close enough. I'm Marcus Chen. It's an honor to be working with you. He extended his hand. Viewership looked at it. Humans did this thing called a handshake. It was a strange custom, but she had studied human behavior, so she knew what to do. She shook his hand briefly. His skin was warm. Too warm. Humans had higher body temperatures than Kalori. Lieutenant Chen, she said. Her voice was cold. Follow me. I will show you to your quarters. Great, he said. He was still smiling. And please, call me Marcus. I will call you Lieutenant, she replied. We are not friends. The smile faded a little, but it did not disappear completely. Understood, Commander. Viewership made things difficult for him from the beginning. She gave him the smallest quarters on the station. She scheduled meetings at times when she knew he would be tired. She spoke to him only when necessary, and always in formal language. She was waiting for him to complain, to get angry, to demand a transfer. But Marcus Chen did none of these things. He arrived at every meeting on time. He completed every task she gave him. He studied Kalora customs and protocols. He never raised his voice. He never showed frustration. It was annoying. Does nothing bother you? She asked him one day. Marcus looked up from his work. Many things bother me, Commander, but getting angry about them doesn't help. So I just focus on doing my job. Viewership did not know how to respond to this, so she said nothing. Their mission was simple. They had to negotiate a trade agreement with the Vethkai, a mysterious species that had refused contact with other civilizations for 300 years. Recently, the Vethkai had shown small signs of interest in opening communication. The Kalori government wanted to be the first to establish trade, but everyone knew this mission would fail. The Vethkai were famous for rejecting outsiders. That was why High Command had sent Viewership and her human partner. If the mission failed, they could blame her. If it somehow succeeded, they could take credit. It was politics. Viewership hated politics. 2 weeks into their journey to Vethkai space, their shuttle began to shake. Warning lights flashed red. Alarms screamed. Engine failure, Viewership reported. Her voice was calm, but her hearts were beating fast. Kalori had 2 hearts. Both of them were pounding now. We are losing power. Marcus was already moving. His fingers flew across the control panel. Hull breach in Section 4. We have maybe 3 minutes before total decompression. The escape pod. We must reach it. They ran through the narrow corridors. The ship groaned around them like a dying animal. Sparks flew from broken wires. The air was getting thin. They reached the pod bay. There was only one pod left. It was small. Made for one person. Marcus grabbed her arm. "Get in. What about you?" There's no time to argue. He was pushing her toward the pod. "I can hold the breach. Just get out of here." "That is impossible. You will die." "Maybe." He looked at her. His brown eyes were steady, calm, "but you won't." "Get in the pod, Commander. That's not a request." Before she could protest, he pushed her inside and sealed the door. Through the small window, she saw him run back toward Section 4. She hit the launch button. The pod shot into space. From the viewport, she watched the shuttle. She saw Marcus reach the breach. She saw him grab the edges of the broken hull with his bare hands. He was trying to hold it together. Trying to buy her more time, the shuttle exploded. Vireltia screamed. But then something appeared in the darkness. A ship. Vethkai markings. They had been watching, and as the Vethkai vessel moved toward the wreckage, Vireltia saw something that made her heart stop. A body, floating in space. Still moving, Marcus Chen was alive. Impossible. But alive. Strange machines hummed in the shadows. Blue lights blinked slowly on the walls. The air smelled clean, but strange, like chemicals Vireltia did not recognize. She stood at the doorway looking at the bed in the center of the room. Marcus Chen lay there, wrapped in white bandages. His hands were completely covered. His chest moved up and down slowly. He was breathing, but he had not opened his eyes in 3 days. A Vethkai physician stood nearby. The Vethkai were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They wore dark robes that covered most of their bodies. This one was called Observer Kethel. "He should not be alive," Observer Kethel said. His voice was soft and curious. "His species is fragile. Exposure to vacuum destroys their bodies quickly. Yet this one survived." "How?" Vireltia asked. The Vethkai made a surprising announcement. They would open trade negotiations with the Kalori government, but they had one condition. "We will only negotiate with these two," Observer Kethel declared. "The human who would not die, and the Kalori who stays by his side. They have earned our trust." The negotiations took many weeks. They were complex and difficult. But Marcus and Vireltia worked together perfectly. She understood protocol and politics. He understood people and emotions. Together, they balanced each other. The final treaty was the most favorable agreement. The Kalori had achieved in 100 years. When they returned to neutral station, that everything was different. The officers who had laughed at Vireltia were now silent. The cruel joke had become a great success. The commander and her human partner were heroes. High Command sent a message. Vireltia could request any assignment she wanted. She made her choice without hesitation. "I want Lieutenant Chen to remain as my permanent partner." High Command was surprised. Some were unhappy, but they could not refuse a hero. The request was approved. That night, Marcus found Vireltia standing at a viewport, looking at the stars. "Thank you," he said, "for asking them to keep us together." She turned to look at him. "You saved my life. You proved yourself through fire. There is no one else I would want as my partner." He smiled, that warm, kind smile that she was beginning to love. "Partners," he said. "Partners," she agreed. But deep inside, she knew it was becoming something more. 3 years passed like water flowing through fingers, fast and quiet and full of moments that seemed small but meant everything. Commander Vireltia and Lieutenant Marcus Chen became famous across the galaxy. They completed mission after mission. They solved problems that other teams could not solve. They negotiated treaties, stopped conflicts, and built bridges between species that had been enemies for centuries. People stopped laughing at the Kalori, commander, and her human partner. Now they watched with respect. Some even watched with envy. But the galaxy did not know what happened behind closed doors. They did not see the late nights when Marcus and Vireltia sat together, reviewing reports and sharing meals. They did not see the early mornings when they trained side by side in the combat room. They did not hear the quiet conversations, the shared laughter, the comfortable silences. Something was growing between them. Something neither of them talked about. Something that scared Vireltia more than any enemy she had ever faced. She was falling in love with him. It was forbidden, of course. Kalori did not form romantic bonds with other species. It was considered shameful, dirty, a betrayal of their pure bloodline. But every time Marcus smiled at her, Viewership felt her two hearts beat faster. Every time he stood beside her in a dangerous situation, she felt safe. Every time he said her name, she felt warm inside. She tried to fight it. She told herself it was just respect, just partnership, just friendship. But she knew she was lying to herself. The mission to Marin Prime changed everything. It was supposed to be simple, a diplomatic meeting with local leaders. Nothing dangerous. But when they arrived, they found chaos. A separatist faction had attacked the capital city. They had taken over the government building. They had captured an entire diplomatic delegation as hostages, 37 people from 12 different species. Marcus was among them. He had gone ahead to prepare the meeting room. When the attack happened, he was inside. Viewership was outside, just arriving at the building. She watched from across the street as armed soldiers sealed the doors. She saw the fires burning. She heard the screams, and she felt something break inside her. The official rescue team was 12 hours away. The local military was too weak to fight the separatists. High Command sent a message: "Stand down. Wait for backup. The hostages are acceptable losses." Acceptable losses. Viewership read those words 3 times. Then she turned off her communicator. Marcus Chen was not an acceptable loss. He would never be an acceptable loss. She moved through the night like a shadow. She had trained in combat since childhood. She knew how to fight. But she had never fought like this. Not with this much anger. Not with this much fear. Not with this much love. The separatists had 50 soldiers guarding the building. Viewership did not care about the numbers. She entered through a window on the 3rd floor. The first guard never saw her coming. Neither did the second. Or the third. She moved from room to room, floor to floor. Her blade was silent. Her movements were quick. She was not fighting like a Kalori diplomat anymore. She was fighting like something older, something primal, something that would burn down the whole world to protect what it loved. The separatist leader found her standing over his last soldier. He raised his weapon, but his hands were shaking. "What are you?" he whispered. Viewership looked at him with cold eyes. "I am someone looking for her partner." "Where is he?" The leader pointed toward the basement. Then he ran away. Viewership let him go. She did not care about him. She only cared about one thing. She found Marcus in a small room underground. He was chained to the wall. His face was bruised. His uniform was torn, but he was alive. When he saw her, his eyes went wide. "Viral," his voice was rough and tired. "How did you—" "The rescue team is not supposed to arrive until—" "I did not wait for the rescue team." She was already cutting his chains. Her hands were shaking. "I came alone." Alone. Against 50 soldiers. 47. She pulled the last chain free. "The number is smaller now." Marcus stared at her. There was something in his eyes that she had never seen before. Wonder, amazement, and something deeper. "You could have been killed," he said softly. "Yes. Why? Why would you risk everything?" Viewership stopped. She looked at him. This human who had changed her life, this human who had saved her, this human who had become the most important person in her universe. The words came out before she could stop them. "Cure my Valrin." Silence filled the room. Viewership felt her heart stop. She had just spoken the most sacred words in Kalori culture. Words that meant eternal commitment. Words that could not be taken back. In Kalori society, speaking these words without permission was either the greatest honor or the greatest insult. It could lead to a lifelong bond or complete rejection. She was standing at the conference table, presenting a report to junior officers. The next moment, the room was spinning. Her legs gave out. Her body hit the floor hard. Marcus was beside her before anyone else could move. He caught her head before it struck the ground. His face was full of fear. "Viral. Viral, can you hear me?" She could hear him, but she could not speak. Her body felt wrong. Heavy, strange, like something was happening inside. Her, that she did not understand, they rushed her to the medical bay. The doctors ran every test they could think of. They scanned her body from head to toe. They checked her blood, her organs, her 2 hearts, and then they found something impossible. The chief medical officer was a Kalori named Dr. Shaw. He had worked in medicine for 40 years. He had seen many strange things. But nothing had prepared him for this. He called Marcus into his office. Verelsha was resting in the next room. Lieutenant Chen, Dr. Shalvin, said slowly, "I do not know how to explain what I am about to tell you." Marcus felt cold fear in his stomach. Is she sick? Is she dying? No, she is not dying. The doctor paused. She is pregnant. Marcus blinked. That is impossible. Every doctor we asked said, I know what they said. I would have said the same thing. Calorian humans cannot produce offspring. Our biology is too different. The genetic codes do not match. Dr. Shalvin shook his head slowly. And yet, Commander Verelsha is carrying a hybrid embryo. It is small, it is fragile, but it is alive and growing. Marcus sat down heavily. His mind could not process the words. How I do not know? No one knows. This has never happened before in recorded history. The doctor looked at him with serious eyes. Lieutenant, you must understand something. This pregnancy is not safe. Commander Verelsha's body does not know how to handle a hybrid child. Her immune system may attack it. Her organs may fail. She could die. What are our options? You could terminate the pregnancy. It would be the safest choice for her health. And if we do not, Dr. Shalvin was quiet for a long moment. Then you must pray to whatever gods you believe in, because you will need a miracle. When Verelsha woke up, Marcus told her everything. He held her hand and spoke softly. He explained what the doctors had found. He explained the dangers. He explained the choice they had to make. Verelsha listened without speaking. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. What do you want to do? She finally asked. Marcus looked at her. This is your body. This is your decision. It is our child. It is our decision together. He squeezed her hand. I want to give this miracle a chance, but not if it means losing you. You are everything to me. Viral. I cannot live without you. Verelsha touched his face with her free hand. I have spent my whole life doing what was safe, what was expected, what was allowed. She smiled softly. Then I met you, and you taught me that some things are worth the risk. This risk could cost your life. Then it would be a good death, a death fighting for something beautiful. She placed her hand on her stomach. I want this child, Marcus. I want our impossible baby. He leaned forward and pressed his forehead against hers. Then we fight together, like always, but the galaxy did not want them to fight in peace. News of the pregnancy spread quickly. Someone in the medical bay talked. Within days, every major government knew about the hybrid child. The reactions were violent. The Calorie High Council was furious. They sent an official message demanding that Verelsha return home immediately. They called the pregnancy an abomination, a corruption of pure Calorie blood. They wanted the child destroyed. Some human groups were equally angry. They said Marcus had betrayed his species. They called the child a monster that should never be born. Other groups wanted to study the child. Scientists from across the galaxy sent requests. They wanted to examine, they wanted to take samples. They wanted to treat her like a laboratory subject, not a person. Religious factions were the worst. Some said the child was a sign from the gods. Others said it was a demon that would bring destruction. People argued and fought. Ships gathered near their station. Threats were made. Marcus and Verelsha were no longer just a couple. They were a political problem, a scientific mystery, a religious symbol. They had to run that the Vethkai offered sanctuary. Observer Kethel sent a private message. Come to our space. We remember the human who would not die, and the Calorie who stayed by his side. We will protect you. They escaped in the middle of the night. They took a small ship and flew through dangerous territory. Calorie patrol vessels tried to stop them. Human news ships tried to follow them. But Marcus was a good pilot, and Verelsha knew every shortcut in the sector. They reached Vethkai space after 17 days of running. The pregnancy was difficult, worse than anything the doctors had predicted. Verelsha's body was confused. Her immune system saw the baby as an invader. Her temperature changed wildly. Some days she burned with fever. Other days she was cold as ice. She could not keep food down. She lost weight. She grew weak. The Vethkai doctors did everything they could. They created new medicines. They invented new treatments. But they were also confused. This had never happened before. They were learning as they went. Marcus never left her side. He slept in a chair beside her bed. He held her hand through the pain. He talked to her when she was scared. He read to her when she could not sleep. He told her stories about Earth, about his childhood, about the life they would build together. The Vethkai watched him carefully. "Your body is also failing," Observer Kethel told him one day. "You have not slept properly in weeks. You are not eating enough. Humans are not made for this level of stress." Marcus looked at him with tired eyes. "I will rest when my family is safe. You may collapse before then. Then I will collapse, but I will not leave her." Observer Kethel made a note in his records. He wrote, "Humans do not accept impossible. They simply refuse to stop trying." The pregnancy lasted 207 days, longer than any Kalori pregnancy, shorter than any human one. On the final day, Varusha's body could not hold on anymore. The Vethkai doctors rushed her to the birthing chamber. Marcus ran beside her bed, holding her hand. "Stay with me," he begged. "Please, Viral, stay with me." She looked at him with tired but loving eyes. Always. The birth was long and painful. The assembly hall was enormous. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in rising circles around a central platform. Lights floated in the air like tiny stars. The silence was heavy with expectation. Sira walked to the platform alone. She was small. Her silver blue scales caught the light. Her brown eyes were calm and steady. She looked out at the assembled representatives. Kalori, who had called her an abomination. Humans who had called her a monster. Species who had never seen a hybrid before. She was not afraid. "My name is Sira," she began. Her voice was clear and strong. "I am the daughter of Commander Virulsha of the Kalori and Lieutenant Marcus Chen of Earth." She paused. "My parents' partnership was meant to be a cruel joke. Someone wanted to humiliate my mother by pairing her with a human. They expected failure. They expected shame." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, Sarah continued. "But my father did not fail. He saved my mother's life. He proved that humans are not weak or foolish. He proved that courage and love are stronger than prejudice and hate." She took a breath. "My birth was called impossible. Every scientist said it could not happen. My mother's own people wanted me destroyed before I was born. They called me an abomination." She smiled softly. "But here I am, impossible, but alive." The assembly was completely silent. "I am not here to ask for your acceptance. I am not here to beg for your approval. I am here to show you what is possible when two people choose love over fear, when they choose hope over hate, when they refuse to accept impossible as an answer." She looked at the Kalori section, then the human section, then all the others. The galaxy is full of walls. Walls between species, walls between cultures, walls between hearts. My parents broke through those walls. I am the proof. She raised her head high. Humans have a saying. They say life finds a way. I stand before you as evidence that this is true, but I want to add something to that saying. She smiled, her father's smile, full of warmth and stubborn hope. Life finds a way, and love finds a way to smite. In the gallery above, Marcus Chen watched his daughter. His hair was gray now. Lines marked his face, but his eyes were still warm, still kind. Beside him, Varelsha sat straight and proud. Her scales had dulled with age, but her grip on his hand was strong. They had been a joke, then a scandal, then an impossibility. Now they watched their daughter change the galaxy. Sira finished her speech. The assembly was silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. The sound filled the great hall like thunder. Virelsha looked at Marcus. Tears ran down her face. Kalori did not cry easily, but some moments deserved tears. "We did good," Marcus said softly. "Yes," Virelsha agreed. "We did." Below them, Sarah looked up at her parents and smiled. The impossible child, the proof of love, the beginning of something new, the end.